God's prophets, Nabi, Ambiya, Rasul, Rusul, these are the plurals. They are the ones who are the only source of God's message. The message which the last messenger, may Allah's mercy be on him, gave to mankind, that message, according to the Quran, has two components, Al-Kitab and Al-Hikmah. And that message is meant to ensure that those who receive and practice it, they go through the process of tazkiyah. That's what I am going to talk about today. I've already clarified in the last lecture that Al-Hikmah is primarily comprised of morality and beliefs. Now, the message of God, the religion of God, is basically Al-Kitab and Al-Hikmah. If Al-Hikmah is morality and beliefs, what exactly is Al-Kitab? Al-Kitab is the law, the Sharia. That is, God Almighty, apart from reminding us that we have to follow the moral principles that we already know from our inner nature, conscience, we have also got to follow His law. So obviously the question is that, isn't morality God's law? Well, yes and no. Morality is God's law, most certainly. It's the more important law of the Almighty, which He shared with everybody by birth. It's inborn. It's already there in all humans. But it's not law in the technical, legal sense, because it's implied that we all will follow morality, ethical principles. When we say the law, we mean by it those verdicts of the Almighty which He sent in order to clarify to humans about certain important matters where they were disagreeing despite having the same moral background, moral understanding. In other words, in most part of our lives, we are able to lead a morally upright life because of the understanding that we already have, because the understanding that we share with other fellow humans. However, there are certain areas, there are certain issues where human beings tend to disagree. Why? Probably because the verdict of morality is either not very clear, or even if it's clear, the human limitations that we are tempted to go for what is very clearly available, we are in need of it, and we ignore the inner voice of conscience telling us that what we are going for is wrong. So, in some such important matters of dispute, controversy, the Almighty intervened and gave His verdict, which is what is called the law, Al-Kitab, Al-Sharia. The word Al-Kitab, we know, is used for book, but it is also used for the law. For instance, we quite often hear this verse 183 of Surah Al-Baqarah, whenever the month of Ramadan is approaching, and during the holy month of Ramadan, this verse, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, believers, kutiba alaykumus siyam, fasting is made binding on you. So kutiba It has been written down. It has been made binding. It has become a law that you fast. So the word kitab is therefore also used for the law. And this law is called Sharia as well. A Sharia, which is the verdict, clear verdicts of the Almighty in the domain of morality, where humans tend to disagree as to what exactly is the Almighty's expectation in this particular area. I'll give you a couple of examples. Humans generally know that they are to consume certain animals' flesh as edibles. It's quite well known amongst humans that the animals that eat the flesh of other animals, the carnivorous animals, they are not fit, proper for human consumption. And we know that the animals like sheep, like camels, like cows, buffaloes, which live on plants, on vegetables, etc., which are herbivorous, these animals are fit for human consumption. It is morally acceptable and correct to eat their flesh. However, despite this clarity, there was ambiguity, there was confusion regarding one particular animal, which in some ways was seen as belonging to the category of cattle, sheep, cows, etc. But on the other hand, it was, as far as its dietary habits were concerned, it was also carnivorous. It ate flesh of meat. So people were confused, and even religious people would consume pork, the flesh of swine, pig. The Almighty in His Sharia clearly mentions that it is haram. What it means is that flesh of dogs and cats and tigers and lions, etc., are already haram. We know they are not fit for human consumption. And as I said, goats, sheep, etc., they are halal, they are fit for human consumption. But if there is a confusion regarding pig, regarding pork, then it is haram as well. So it's a verdict of the Almighty that He has given in an area which was otherwise ambiguous, unclear and confusing. Likewise, if we go for another example in, let's say, business dealings, in economic matters, we know that there is a vast domain of activities in business which are categorized as unacceptable, immoral, despicable. In most universities of the world, in business studies, there is an important course taught which is business ethics. It's not normally taught with a background of religious teachings, but it's a full-fledged course. The reason is that there is a long list of do's and don'ts in the domain of business that need to be understood, need to be reminded and clarified. However, there is one particular matter in business dealings, in economic transactions, where there is ambiguity, which is riba, interest. The Almighty gave His verdict that is prohibited. People were confused that on the one hand it looks quite similar to rent, wherein you're giving your property, your asset to somebody, and the other person is remunerating you with rentals. So nothing wrong with it. Likewise, if somebody is giving you her funds, you use them, why should you not give the other person a fixed amount? But the Almighty, because of His supreme wisdom, gave His verdict that the case of funds and similar assets is different from the case of houses and machinery, vehicles, etc. This is a topic that I'll talk about much later, inshallah, when I'll talk about the law on economic matters, Islamic law on economic matters. However, what I'm trying to clarify right now is that this is what is called Al-Kitab, Ash-Sharia, the law. So, quite apart from Al-Hikmah, morality, moral principles, believers follow Ash-Sharia, the law, as well. It's not a great idea that Muslims, when they talk to non-Muslims, they should emphasize the significance of Ash-Sharia, because it's something that the Almighty has clarified to us. When we believe in Him and His message, it's only then that we become more aware of significance of these matters, and we get clarified that these verdicts are also important too. So a non-Muslim would not be immediately able to appreciate. We should talk to them about our points of commonalities first, and then move on to the details later. Now, why has this religion been given to us? What is the ultimate target that it seeks to achieve? The answer is tazkiyah. That's what those 4 verses are mentioning. What is tazkiyah? Tazkiyah is purification and growth. What does that mean? What it means is that we humans have been given a tremendous potential to make progress morally and spiritually. In other words, we've got a great capacity to be good to fellow humans and to be close to God. Moral and spiritual progress. So that's what the goal is. However, we have weaknesses. We have desires, base desires, which incline us to do things which are evil, because they seem to be apparently attractive for the time being, for a short while. And we humans also have an ego, which makes us feel as if we are superior to others, and we should dominate, etc. And the end result is that the tremendous moral and spiritual capacity that we have as humans is compromised, and we aren't able to make that progress which the Almighty would want us to make. God's religion, its teachings, enable us to cleanse ourselves, to purify ourselves from the ill effects of our base desires, and these teachings also help us in putting checks, controls over our ego. When that happens, then it is as if the brakes that were there in the way of our morality and spirituality to make progress, those brakes are released. It is as if the hurdle, the impediment is removed. So we make progress. So what is tazkiyah? Tazkiyah is purification, and tazkiyah is progress. Purifying ourselves morally as well as spiritually by getting rid of or overcoming our base desires and our ego, and making progress as a consequence, because we already have that capacity. The Almighty has decided that this life of ours is a trial. I've mentioned it in the first presentation. And there's going to come another life, which is going to be the outcome, end result of this trial, where humans are either going to be declared successful and would enter the paradise, or unsuccessful and doomed, and they will enter the hell. The Almighty would want all humans to enter the paradise, and He has decided that the only criterion that He has set forth for an individual to enter the heaven, enter the paradise, is a minimum expectation of tazkiyah, purification and spiritual and moral progress. So if individuals will have done that tazkiyah, they will succeed. If not, they will fail. So the Quran mentions in a number of verses this important fact that it is tazkiyah and tazkiyah alone that is going to enable the humans to enter the paradise. So for instance, in Suratul Ala, Surah number 87, verse 14, the Almighty says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. The one who has done his tazkiyah, or the one who has purified himself, has succeeded. And by success, the Quran always means one thing, which is the success of the next life, which is the ultimate possibility of entering the paradise. In another passage in Surah Shams, Surah number 91, in verses 9 and 10, the Almighty says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. The one who has purified his soul has succeeded, and the one who has contaminated it has doomed, has failed. So tazkiyah is the ultimate goal, which is going to enable humans to enter the paradise. Now, let me summarize. God's religion is the message that He has given to His prophets, His messengers, who deliver it to humankind. The last of these messages is what has come to us through Prophet Muhammad, may Allah's mercy be on him. He gave us this message, and it was comprised of, as indeed all previous messages were comprised of, Al-Kitab and Al-Hikmah. Al-Hikmah are the universally shared moral principles and the belief system that supports those moral principles. And Al-Kitab is the law which is based on morality, based on Al-Hikmah, but it's that part of Hikmah, Al-Hikmah, which humans are unable to understand in many cases. When we follow God's religion based on Al-Kitab and Al-Hikmah, we are able to do our tazkiyah, which is moral and spiritual purification and moral and spiritual progress. And when we are able to attain and achieve that progress, we shall be declared as successful in the next life. That's the total picture. That's the whole story, the entire scheme of the Almighty in a nutshell. This total picture needs to be shared with others. Muslims have got this picture clearly. I will talk about it and confidently. I'll mention it later, because this message, the last message, is authentically transmitted to us. So the idea is that we've got responsibility. You know what? We are the custodians of this message, which is so very badly needed by the entire humanity. We need to understand it ourselves properly. We need to practice it as best as we can to become models of this message, and we need to let others know about it, so that the entire humanity knows the Almighty's plan, that they go through the trial of this life successfully, so that they meet with the ultimate eternal success of the next life. Hopefully you will continue to be a part of these lectures. I'll talk about another topic in the next lecture.